Hello, everyone. Welcome to part two of my five-part end of the decade best of the 100 best songs, my favorites, my own personal opinion, favorite songs of the 2010s decade. Again, my hair is going all over the place here today. I apologize, the lighting isn't as great as it usually is. And for this week, we're just kind of working with it. So, for those of you who have not seen part one, where I talk about songs 100 to 81, I'm going backwards. And I'm doing 20 songs per video. I would recommend you start out with that video, and I will link it in the description. I'm going to have a playlist created, and hopefully it'll be on the front page of my channel. And I'm going to be adding to this every Sunday. So like I said, this is the second Sunday in December. We're doing part two. Today, I'm going to be talking about songs 80 through 61. So we're still, sort of towards the lesser favorite, but still, these are all strong songs, and it was so hard, again, like I said, to place things. Like, even after this video was starting to be made, I was realizing I kind of might want to smooth things around after the fact. But it is what it is. Like, I wouldn't take the rankings so seriously for especially like the 51 to 100 category, because I just don't know how to rank those songs. All I know is that for one reason or another, they had an impact on either me or pop culture. I thought they were good enough to be given a shout out. So like I said, start out with the first video in this series if you'd like. Otherwise, we will just get right into song number 80. Let's do it. Yeah, I told you there was going to be another Azealia Banks song on this list. After I said that in the last video, I was sort of actually starting to debate whether I wasn't going to include this song. But since I included Young Rapunzel in, like spot 95 or something, I was like, well, I can't not include 212. That was like her huge, big hit. And I would argue that 212 is better than that song. So I can't not include this one if I've included the other one. You know what I mean? I was locked in. So this is the one other Azealia Banks song you will see on this list. It's been, it was really high on the Pitchfork list, which kind of made me realize, I was like, look, there is something about this song that is just iconic. I mean, it was Azealia Banks at her most ferocious, but experimental, but like at the same time, she could have been on the radio, I mean, she was definitely like, experimenting with a sound that wasn't necessarily hip hop, but it was hip hop, but it wasn't so urban. It was definitely more kind of I don't know how to explain it, but the electronic dance elements for it were like very unique and something that not a lot of hip hop urban artists were experimenting with. And this song is kind of sarcastic, but like also very serious. I think it's this witty kind of snarky, bombastic blare at the top of your lungs kind of track that, I mean, it just has that staying power. I mean, there's a reason why we're still talking about it, and it came out all the way back in 2011. We're still waiting for Azealia Banks to really premiere, though I suppose when Broke with Expensive Taste came out, that was sort of her big premiere in 2014. But hopefully, she'll be able to get her stuff together, and we'll be able to get like a proper new album from her in the near future.
The Kool-Aid, don't drink the Kool-Aid, drink the Kool-Aid, don't drink the Kool-Aid, drink the Kool-Aid, don't drink the Kool-Aid, drink the Kool-Aid, don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Okay, so at number 79, might be a bit of a surprise to some people, we have a Natalia Kills track. This song was released in 2012, I believe, but it was like the first song to be released as a single off of her album Trouble, which was her second album, and her only other album besides her debut, where she was called Natalia Kills. She has since then stripped away that stage name, and she now works with her boyfriend, I believe, and they are a group called Cruel Youth. But when Natalia Kills was Natalia Kills, she kind of was the bad girl of sort of dark electropop. Kind of the Tove Lo before Tove Lo was a thing. She, she was also a bit like the Charlie XCX before Charlie XCX became big. A lot of those girls probably can trace influence from Natalia. And back then, the early part of this decade, she did amazing dark pop stuff. It was kind of Lady Gaga. It was her own thing. And Controversy was a song that I remember hearing back in 2012 and just falling in love with. The music video, I was just like blown away by the directness and the like intense production. this sort of a electro-industrial clash sort of sound that's almost kind of grunge in some ways. Jeff Bosker and Guillaume Dubé were the producers on this track, and I really have to credit them for what they did with this song. The mixing of it, the delayed sort of drops and intense, like, dark, edgy beat work that they did on this track. The intro, it's this old-fashioned vintage, like, record. It's, like, hilarious. There's just, like, this funny dialogue that you can hear, like, her on the phone. The whole context around this song and so much of Natalia's music was sort of the artifice of fame and, the idealized feminine, diva, pop star, the Marilyn Monroe archetype. Something that, Lady Gaga has explored, Christina Aguilera has explored, Lana Del Rey has explored. All of these pop girls have explored, but she did it in this uniquely sort of witty and sarcastic, dark way. She wasn't afraid to talk about overdose and pills and drugs and porn and underaged, underpaid workers, narcotics, don't stop it. All the girls are friends with Molly. Probably one of my favorite lines. Dilated, X-rated, pageant princess puking rainbows. I mean, she just rattles off basically everything that is just like wrong with mass media and pop culture and sort of the hypersexualization of, women and drug use and like all of these things that we have traditionally thought of as like kind of just like the it factor of like the pinnacle of success in Hollywood. And then, with the pre-chorus against the chorus, there's this back and forth and she sings, drink the Kool-Aid, don't drink the Kool-Aid. And I really think that that is the perfect summarization of, do you buy into this or do you want to separate yourself out from like what I consider to be basically like a basic diss to Los Angeles, but also to like American culture. I mean, she talks about teen brides, white lines, politicians, headlines, prom queens, STDs, high school shootouts, dirty dreams, cult leaders and cowboy preachers, blame it on the non-believers, therapists, sedatives, visiting hours of 10 to 6. Like, absolute brilliant wordplay here. Like, just spilling it all out on the table, playing the cards, and just basically saying, look at how screwed up this, pop culture can be. Look at how screwed up just like so much of American society can be, and just poking fun at it and also expressing like this dark, urgent sort of need to get away from that at the end of the day. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. She sings that in a much more urgent, frantic manner than she says, drink the Kool-Aid. Drink the Kool-Aid, that's like, all the advertising. And then it's like, don't drink the Kool-Aid. Like, seriously, get yourself out of this before it is too late. Because you will be swallowed whole by fame and it'll destroy you. I mean, it's just poetic 21st century nihilistic brilliance. And I owe this song a lot for that. Okay, so at number 78, we have the song Brave by Sara Bareilles. Who has not heard this iconic song? I've talked about in a video recently where I saw Sara Bareilles live recently in Philadelphia on her Amidst the Chaos tour. So I got to sing along as we all shouted those lyrics. Say what you want to say, let the words fall out. I want to see you be brave. This was kind of lauded as the LGBT anthem for 2013 when it was released off of her critically acclaimed, amazing album, The Blessed Unrest. There's going to be more Sara Bareilles on this list, and I was toying with whether I actually wanted to include this song, because honestly, the song, it was overplayed, and I mean, it's great, but I mean, it's not the most interesting melodically. It's just a great stadium song, and it served its purpose. It's, her vocals are great, the production is what it is. The music video is just so wholesome, and it's great, and it makes you smile. There's nothing about the music video that isn't just making you want to just like be unapologetically yourself, and you can't not be put in a good mood by the music video. I guarantee you, if you're feeling down, just watch that music video, because the colors and the vibrancy and seeing it's hilarious, it's fun. So I felt like this song still needed to be on this list because although it's not sonically by far one of my favorite Sara Bareilles songs, there's just so much that this song was carrying along with it for the culture. Like I said, this was a big moment for, letting people feel confident to speak their truths. I'm always going to stand behind that 1%, 100%. I really love Sara too, and so this was a huge hit for her, the biggest hit she's had since Love Song, and I had to give this song a rightful shout out. I just felt like this talking about this decade wouldn't be right without talking about this track. Okay, so at number 77, we're taking it all the way back to 2010 with the song The Writer by Ellie Goulding. A lot of people forget that Ellie Goulding used to be a lot more alternative. Her first album when she came out was extremely, it was electronic in its influence, and there was definitely like the same kind of processing on her voice, though I would say it wasn't quite as processed as it came to be. But her music was almost also a little folk, and there was a lot more of an acoustic element. And something about The Writer, which was one of the singles off of her debut album Lights, is just this shining, shimmery, gorgeous summer day, where Ellie is confessing her feeling of true love for someone. Why don't you be the artist? I'll make me out of clay. Why don't you be the writer and decide the words I'll say? Brilliant metaphor to explain a feeling of synchronicity with a partner. Just the overall atmosphere of this song is one of positivity, bright colors, lights. I mean, it suits the album title well, and it gives you that like innocent, down to earth, bubbly Ellie Goulding that I really do kind of miss, and I really hope we see a little bit more of return in her upcoming album in 2020. I'm so excited. A really gorgeous, brilliant chorus, and very great songwriting, great piano chords, a lot of great things about this song.
So let's make things physical. I will treat you like you're a so typical.
So at 76, we have a song called Closer by Tegan Sara. The song was released in 2013 off of their album Heartthrob. This was a song that actually introduced me to Tegan Sara, which is I know a huge shocker because I know they've been around for forever, but there's so much music out there. How am I going to know everything, right? This song for me had to be on this list just because, of course, it's an infectious bop. Really great production, just a great pop song, I think, in its own right. But also because this song was one I just happened to listen to a lot during my sophomore year of college when it came out. So it will always remind me of that time. It was a song that I actually hadn't really listened to since 2013, but then when I was going through and making this list, I was like, I actually probably should include this track. And their silky smooth vocals just complement each other brilliantly, and there's this like really great fluttering electronic production. It'll get under your skin. I don't know what else to say.
See my face. Hey, want me to beat it like TRKs. Oh, hey, this heated, I'ma beat my face. Hey.
Okay, so at 75, another shocker. We got a hip hop track here. Nerd, which was a group that Pharrell had put together and originally had done stuff with and then hadn't for a while, and then he decided to put out a new album with the group in 2017 called No One Ever Really Dies, which is what Nerd stands for. And the song Lemon, which was like the big smash hit from that record featuring Rihanna, was a real moment, and one that I at first was like, I don't know, and then I just was fully suckered into. I can't deny just the infectiousness of that beat. It's just like the definition of a great hip hop song. Apparently, U.S. Senator Arlen Specter is the guy who's saying, wait a minute. He's like just sampled, and I thought that was hilarious. The truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off. Very, very, very true. The lyrics are quite political, and at the same time also very playful and talking about cars and, it's classic hip hop, right? Like double-edged meanings going through, things that actually could possibly mean something. But at the end of the day, it's just about that beat. At 74, we have the big breakout smash debut single by Swedish duo Iconopop titled I Love It, featuring Charlie XCX. I remember, I think I heard this song first on like America's Got Talent or something. Like it was used as like a background for a performance of some kind. And there was just that one lyric that like, you're from the 70s, but I'm a 90s bitch. And I was just like, this is brilliant. Like I just really resonated with that line. And I mean, come on, like this song is probably on like every publication's year-end list for like iconic pop songs of the decade. This song was retro and yet futuristic. It was really, really well produced. Kind of silly and kind of throwaway, but at the same time, existentially kind of brilliant. Because the lyrics were so vague and open, you can interpret it to be about anything. I just don't really see how this song, I know it could be annoying to some people, but I feel like that's a staple of pop music, is it's just like, it's working so hard to just get in your head and get in your skin. And certain songs just do it so wonderfully. And this song was just one where it just like was immediately jumping off the page. And it was, you know, a great introduction to iconopop sound. I really wish that they'd had more success, or that they would put out another album, because they haven't really put out an album, though they put out a lot of singles since their debut album, This Is Iconopop, from 2013. At 73, again, going back to 2010, boy, this song feels like eons ago, sometimes, going back to the early part of this decade. Does anyone remember Kellis? Yeah, what happened to her? I have no idea. But she was still making music back then, and she put out an album called Flesh Tone, and there was a song on that record, the only real song I actually heard from it at that time, called Acapella. And I remember I saw the music video for it back in the summer of 2010, and I was just, my jaw was on the floor. I mean, the music video was the most over the top, you know, something that Beyonce would probably do now, you know, like the over the top costuming, very like Afrofuturist, celebrating Black beauty in like such a unique and feisty, exotic way, and artistic. And I was really about it. And this song is just this propulsing dance club hit that is just so perfectly constructed around an idea of how everything all of a sudden just came crashing down on you when you met that one person. You know, before everything, there was no sound. It was all just like the sound of one voice. It was a cappella. And then now a symphony is the only song to sing. And this song is not symphonic by any means. It is high, intense industrial electronic dance pop music. But apparently this song was actually written about her son. So it was sort of speaking about how like that finally that person came into my life, which was my child. They filled my life up with so much more color, bright energy, love, and life. Great harmonies, great tempo, a great workout song. Okay, at number 73, Miss Lana Del Rey returns. I said there would be at least 6 Lana Del Rey songs on this list, so we get 3 or whichever number I'm on there. This is going to be a little controversial because it's from Ultraviolence, it's Shades of Cool. I actually was very close to not including any Ultraviolence songs on this list because my unpopular opinion when it comes to Miss Lana Del Rey is that I believe that Ultraviolence is a strong record. It deserved the critical acclaim, I believe, for the most part. But as far as, you know, my own personal taste and looking at all of Lana's records, Ultraviolence, it's not bad. It's not bad, but if I had to choose one to sort of drown and I had to save all the others, I'm sorry, Ultraviolence, you would be the last one I'd pick. Because I just like all of her other albums more. I mean, maybe because I'm just not so much of a hard rock fan, and this was definitely her foray into that. There are moments on even Shades of Cool that I might not normally get down behind, especially that guitar breakdown towards the end, which although I think is brilliant, it's not so my style. But there was also something so classic about her delivery. It was very kind of 1920s, 1930s, 40s. This was probably her most retro-facing album that she ever made. And Shades of Cool is probably one of the best triumphant moments on this record for me, just because it showcases her vocals, I think, the most beautifully and richly, with classic, great, you know, film noir songwriting, describing a lover who lives his life in shades of cool eyes and jazz and aptitude. And she has that just sort of waterfall delivery on aptitude, you know, like I just fall in love with that every time. There's this ambient feel to this song. It sounds like she's singing it in like a garden. I imagine this like luscious, you know, villa, and she's in this white dress and she's sort of like barefoot strolling around in the 1930s singing this song with the grainy black and white imagery. It's a mood for sure, and it's quite a triumphant, elegant, brazen moment for that record. So it had to be included ultimately.
Courage, don't you dare fail me now.
All right. So 71, we have probably one of the most recent songs to make it onto this list. The song Courage by Celine Dion off of her recent album, which is also titled Courage. This album just came out a few weeks ago. But this song came out back in September. And spoiler alert, I am going to be doing a top 25 songs of 2019 video. And I think it's a given that any songs that were released in 2019 that are also in this video are probably going to be on that list. So spoiler alert, you're going to be seeing me talk about this song one more time before the year's up, if you haven't already watched my Celine Dion Courage review. So I'm not going to be too long and harp on about it, but Celine at the piano with the same songwriters who did songs like A New Day Has Come, it's a win-win combination. The pain in her voice, the lyrics speaking about overcoming tragedy, sorrow, heartbreak, the loss of her husband. You can hear it, you can feel it. The music video, so elegant, poised, fragile. Celine at her most vulnerable and yet still so empowering. The shots are just iconically beautiful, the black and white. It's everything I love about the elegance and regality of Celine Dion's music that is at once so lofty and high, but at the same time so broken, fragile, and vulnerable.
Leaving all the windows open.
And then so at 70, we also have another song from 2019. This is the other Sara Bareilles song on this, one of the other Sara Bareilles songs on this list. Saint Honesty, a new song off of her most recent album, Amidst the Chaos. Now, again, I have seen her perform this song live now. It's a moment. It's a very Carole King kind of track. It's soulful, jazzy almost. Not usually my cup of tea, but Sara Bareilles can basically sell me anything. I mean, Sara Bareilles can sing the phone book and make it emotive, beautiful, tear-jerking. I don't know how else to describe it. But there's something just so mature about her vocal delivery on this track, and also the songwriting. The metaphors that she uses, leave the windows open. We don't mind the rain. Who cares if the hardwood stains? Rain on us, saint honesty. Salvation's coming in the morning. This song has, for me, a lot of political connotations, as Sarah's always been, and I say this in my Amidst the Chaos review, very vocal about, politics and the situation we're currently dealing with this administration. And I definitely feel we definitely need a heavy dose of honesty raining down upon the White House. So this song does feel like, when you're saging a place, you're just like, let's get all this negative, bad juju out of here. Like, play this song, light a candle, and just feel it. Feel the truth, even the painful stuff. Just let it be and cleanse the spirit. So this is a real moment, and it deserves to win that Grammy that it was nominated for, which was, I guess, Best American Roots Performance or something. I hope that this one wins that Grammy, because her live performances of this song are immaculate and just like the studio recording. But are we surprised it's Sara Bareilles? Her vocals are always on point. Her live vocals. All right, we're getting into the 60s now. Whew, number 69. We turn up the heat a little bit with sultry, fun, summery Beyonce. Of course, I had to include a song off of her album 4. Now, if you would have told me back when this album came out that this song in particular, but any song off of this album would have been included in a year-end list by me, I would have laughed you off the face of this earth, because when this album came out, this was 100% not what I was looking for from pop music. This is old school. This is like, not everything from this album is. We've got Run the World, which is like a very kind of like pop EDM moment. But songs like Love on Top and Countdown and 1+1, they're very R&B. This is like one of the most classic, I think, Beyonce records in the respect that she's not really trying so hard to be this pop diva in the same way that we're used to seeing her, experimenting with more kind of like club sounding music. this was her just like really kind of feeling her Southern roots the most, I feel, taking into account all of her influences, taking into account all of those like great iconic African American songwriters and blues singers and soul singers and R&B singers, and really putting it all together to make a song and an album that still has that Beyonce magic to it. Love on Top, I mean, it's definitely over the top in terms of the key changes that she does. But I mean, it's basically her reviving her sort of Dreamgirls moment for me. I feel like this is a Destiny's Child revival type song because it just sounds very much like something Destiny's Child would have put out. It feels very 90s. I mean, this song sounds like it didn't belong in 2011 at all. Nothing else that was made in 2011 sounds like this. So, I mean, this belongs definitely in the 90s. And I think it's just great that, it can have that timeless impact so that kids can listen to it and be like, Mom, that song must be really old. And they're like, no, this just came out in 2011, Like, it's Beyonce. She's versatile like that. She can make stuff like Drunken Love, which is like this decade to a T, but then she can also throw it back and still not sound like she's doing some cover song or some retro moment that's kind of forced and a little cheesy. She's in her element.
I need it all. The prima donna life, the rise and fall.
All right, at 68, Marina and the Diamonds returns. Electra Heart was an album I criminally slept on when it came out, but over the years after Fruit, I went back, paid it its dues. There were a bunch of songs that I thought could potentially go on this list, but at the end of the day, I chose Prima Donna just because I feel like it was the thesis statement song for that record. It was also very reminiscent of the pop music landscape at that time. Definitely sounds like a Katy Perry track. It's just got that really produced vocal over a like really gut punching, electronic pop beat. At the same time, it really lets her showcase her soprano. It has all the right pieces in the puzzle to make a brilliant pop song. And at the end of the day, it's, facetiously chopping away at the artifice of fame, just like Natalia Kills is doing. Prima Donna Girl, the Prima Donna life, the rise and fall. Talking about just how pop stars are almost always kind of skewered and crucified, and there's this meteoric rise and then this catastrophic downfall. And yet there's something addictive about it that we still can't get away from. And the music video plays with that. The character that she created was all around that. This was a concept album, so Marina is not necessarily always speaking about her own personal. I mean, I'm sure it all relates to her, but like she's creating this sort of archetype to play with the idea of pop culture and fame, very similar to what Lady Gaga did with the Fame as well. So deserving of a place on this list for sure. Okay, at number 60, what number are we at now? 67? 67. Misterwives was an indie pop band that came onto the scene sort of in the middle part of this decade. Their debut song, Reflections, was one of those like free singles on iTunes back in like 2014. And that was when I used to really check out, remember when iTunes used to have free songs of the week? Well, I would always check those out because I was like, it's free music. Your boy is broke. That's gone away like a long time ago, of course. But this was one of those songs that was featured, and I remember I listened to it and I was like, damn, this is catchy. I really like this song. And little did I know that like a year later, this song would have been everywhere. This song blew up. A huge sleeper hit for the band, and they released their debut album, Our Own House, in 2015, which I never heard the full thing of. Misterwives is a band I only peripherally keep track of, but I know they released another album in 2017. I heard like one song from it, and that was it, but I did like it. Their music is fun. It's a little campy, but it's really fun. I don't have anything bad to say about it other than it's like great pop music. Okay, so this is a song that was criminally underrated. Neon Hitch. She's a UK artist who is kind of hit or miss for me. I don't really know what she's doing anymore, but at the beginning part of this decade, she was definitely trying to find her footing. But I feel like maybe that, I don't know. I mean, she could have been huge. Again, a little bit like Natalia Kills in style in a certain way. She was, you know, again, a little grittier, but like also very bubblegum at the same time. Get Over You came out in 2011, and I think I saw a performance of this, but like by on like a live stream of South by Southwest, that like like a festival in Texas. So that was when I first heard of her, and something about the hook of this song just immediately rappelled me in. The production, it's so light and airy in a way, but at the same time like dark and propelling. I really wish I could come up with better adjectives to describe music. I feel like I use the same adjectives over and over again: propulsive, propelling, light, bombastic, whatever. I could do I could open up the thesaurus.com and do that, but I'm not going to bother right now. I'm sorry. But give this song a shot if you haven't, because this song still feels current. It doesn't feel dated to me at all. And I think that, you know, the style of it, it's very also, it's really good British pop music. I don't know. You can really hear, once again, like I said, her wit and her humor in the lyrical delivery. I will get over the most horrendous things that you can do to me. At the end of the day, I will rise above. And the song does that. It swells upward, like in a way that I wasn't expecting it to, based off of the verses.
Right now, I'm in a state of mind. I wanna be in like all the time.
So this is song 75. I apologize that in my rankings I'm getting all the numbers mixed up. It honestly doesn't really matter too much what numbers these are. If it's 74, 75, who cares? No Tears Left to Cry, Ariana Grande, lead single off of Sweetener. The music video, the moment that this song was, it was her big comeback after Manchester. And boy, it's a kind of a shame to me how the quality just, I don't know. I mean, there is quality in Ariana's music. Sweetener was, like I said, an okay album, but No Tears really set it up to be like this. I think what it would have been like a great like pop moment for, you know, like Teenage Dream was by Katy Perry, for example, or something. And then the album just kind of was just kind of, I don't know, filler. God is a Woman, of course, would have been an honorable mention. I ultimately chose No Tears Left to Cry, even though lyrically God is a Woman is much more, I think, impactful. No Tears Left to Cry has that infectious hook that I just can't get over. It has the gorgeous layering of her vocals that we don't really hear very often from her in that way. And I just love that it's a Eurodance track because it's not more R&B, and I'm just not so into R&B music, and I really like when Ariana goes more of that like dance route. So Max Martin, he's a good producer, okay? So like you're kind of setting yourself up for success there.
It doesn't matter if you love him or capital H-I-M.
Or a song that definitely defined this decade, and a song that I am so absolutely disgusted by Pitchfork for excluding on their list, Born This Way by Lady Gaga. They had no Lady Gaga songs on their top 200 songs of the decade list. Now, I talked about how they put the Fame Monster on their top 200 albums list, which didn't make sense to me because, well, it kind of did, but it didn't because it came out in 2009. Born This Way Erasure, we do not stand. We do not stand Born This Way Erasure. I'm okay with art pop Erasure. I'm okay with that. But Born This Way Erasure, no, you are going to be seeing a lot more Born This Way on this list, okay? Born This Way was one of the it albums of the decade. I mean, there's not really been an album since from a pop artist that has floored me the way that Born This Way did. I remember it came out literally days before I graduated high school, and it was like I was excited for two things for months. Two things, and they both happened at the same time, and I was just like, oh, it was just this huge moment. And Born This Way was the lead single. It was this moment. It had to be. I know that there's the Express Yourself, copycat, controversy, whatever, water under the bridge, ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, she's riffing off an iconic 80s sort of chord progression from Madonna's song. It's okay. She's running with it. It's still unique enough for me that I don't have a problem with it. That iconic line, don't be a drag, just be a queen. I mean, seriously, talk about iconic phrases of the 2010s decade. That would be one of them. And so I have to, especially as a queer man, a gay man, I have to give props to this song. I mean, I would be very remiss to exclude it. How dare some of these publications? All right. So at number 73, we have Skyscraper by Demi Lovato. Um, Boy, thinking back to when, Demi's gone through a lot. Demi has gone through a lot this decade. And it's hard to imagine, considering her more recent struggles with like her overdose in 2018. Back in 2011, Demi's comeback was a huge deal, because in 2010 she had been in rehab for severe for eating disorder and like all of these issues that she was struggling with. And so when she returned with Skyscraper, I think we forget just how, I mean, the song is so emotive and powerful, but the moment that it was kind of creating for her comeback and sort of for Disney X-Acts in general was huge. Um, I'm a little, I mean, this song's been out for almost 10 years, so I'm almost kind of over this song in terms of the sonical, like I don't really listen to it anymore, but I have to include it on the list because, I mean, when it came out, it was such a moment. Also, I have to acknowledge, one of the songwriters, Curly, she, is one of my favorite artists, and she helped co-write this song for Demi. You can hear her influence. So I had to give that shout out. Everything about this song is just so empowering and gorgeous vocal delivery. You give a piano and like just some nice orchestral moment and like a really powerful female vocal singing about overcoming adversity and like difficulty, and you're winning in my book already. At number 72, we have the ambient track Diving off of Enigma's eighth studio album, The Fall of a Rebel Angel. This was released in the fall of 2016. And Enigma is one of those enigmatic artists, like their namesake very accurately portrays, where you don't know a whole lot of what's really going on behind the surface. Michael Cretu is very reclusive, doesn't really give interviews. I really wish I could pick his brain more about some of the stuff he does and why he does it. But at the end of the day, there was an album dropped this decade that had such a spine-chilling impact on me. An album that scares me, challenges me, inspires me, thrills me, and that is this record. And one of the standout tracks for me on this record is this understated moment that we get on Diving. Just this delicate piano descending into a synth heaven, basically. I don't know how else to describe it. It's so melancholic, so visual in the way the melody kind of unfolds itself to you. Very, very haunting, soft whispers. It's just so poetic in its musicality. And one of the most spiritually stirring moments for me in terms of music that was released this decade. And this is not the only song from that album that will appear on this list. And finally, for this video, at number 61, I probably have been saying 70 something instead of 60 something in some of those earlier ones. Like I said, it is what it is. We have a song that I don't think this is an artist I've said anything about on this channel, but she's amazing. She's Faroese, and her name is Ivor. I think that's how you pronounce it. And there's a song she has called Trochlabundin. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's Faroese, and it is a cultural world music moment. It's a Norse, it's Nordic, it's a bang your drum and wail at your feral vocals to your heart's content type of track. Amazing production, but when it's performed live, it's just as ethereal and haunting. It's very kind of ritualistic, and it builds, and it has like a real wild energy to it that just recalls wild feral nature, that is mystical, frightening, full of energy, full of love, mystery. Please, 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 if I recommend one song off this video that you have not heard, please check out this moment, check out this song. I realized when I looked at all the songs I had in this section, this one was probably the one I had to have at the top of it. Just because when I did discover it, it came out around 2015, 2016. She has some other great tracks too. I love The Mist. That song is so ethereal. It's amazing. again, like unlike anything I've ever heard before. And I really do love music that is so culturally rooted in folk music, because it's so unique and to Western ears just so refreshing. Because even though you would consider the Faroe Islands as part of the West, considering American mainstream music, this is so far from that. This is obscure European, Northern European folk. But she's displaying the magic and wonder of that so effortlessly and wonderfully in these songs. And this one in particular is just so haunting. And that brings us to the end of these 20. Bit of a diverse group. Like I said, we've got, hip hop, we've got Faroese folk music. I mean, it goes from 212 by Azealia Banks to this. Yeah, these things are quite diverse. But like I said, don't get too hung up on the placement of which song is in which order, because like I said, with all these towards the beginning of the video series, it's kind of hard for me to really decide. But yeah, now we are down to song number 60. And so we're going to be entering in the 50s with our next video, which will come next Sunday, where we will talk about songs number 60 to 41. And so we'll be getting to the halfway point, really starting to get into more and more songs that I'm super excited to talk about and reveal for you guys. And like I said last week, I have an Apple Music playlist that every week I will be adding these 20 songs to that playlist. And so this week there's another 20 songs added to it. So we now have 40 songs in my 100 best songs of the decade playlist. So I'd highly recommend you check that out in Apple Music if you have it. Sorry, I don't have Spotify. I am bought and sold by Tim Cook and Apple. It's just how it's always going to be, at least for the near future. So I use Apple Music. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said, please comment in the description what your top favorite songs are. What do you think of these choices? What would you have included? And remember, it is all just my opinion. So take it all with a pinch of salt. A lot of salt, I guess. And I hope to see you in part 3, which will come next Sunday. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a wonderful, blessed day. Peace, love, and light. Bye.